Welcome into the Shakespearean Shrew. I am your Shakespearean Shrew, Karen Feiner, lover of all things bard, literature, and the weird stuff in between. This is a decorum be damned entrance into all of that, and today I am talking to Stephen Puri, CEO of the Sukha Company and visual effects producer of Braveheart, Independence Day, Seven. And that's just naming a few of my favorites from a very long list. I am so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
I so appreciate that. Actually, I've done some stuff since the visual effects.
Oh, we know.
A little
That's
bit, Dr. Shrew. Most notably, maybe you saw me in Munich's Shakespeare in the Park this summer.
oh, well.
No, I was joking.
I was like, what?
Hold on, that's not in the official bio. Why do my handlers prep me for this stuff? Right, I know, right? Blame someone.
Damn it, we're starting early.
Yep, exactly. My AI bot should have told me this. God damn it.
So, in terms of the projects that you have done,
Yeah.
because you've done, like I said, a lot of projects. I could keep name dropping, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite? Is there a favorite project that you worked on as a visual effects producer that stands out to you?
Oh, well, visual effects wise, I mean, that was the 90s. So thinking back on that, obviously producing the digital effects for Independence Day was a fun experience. It was grueling, but we won the Academy Award for the visual effects. So that's always nice to have that. In terms of quality, I remember bringing home the script for Braveheart on like a weeknight, a Tuesday or Wednesday night, because we had a meeting the next day with Mel's partner, Bruce Davey, and then the producers, Steve McAvee and Jim Lemley. And we were auditioning to get, the titles and effects work and stuff on Braveheart. And I didn't know really that much about it, you know? So it looked as like a huge 160, 180 page script I had to read on a Tuesday night for the meeting the next day. And I was hating my life. And I did not go to sleep until I finished it. There was no way to just like stop that and be like, I've read enough, I can have the meeting. It was like 2 a.m. I finished it. The next day, my team, everyone's like, yeah, I stayed up. Like you couldn't not finish that script. And, John Tull won the Academy Award for cinematography, which we felt very proud about because a lot of those images you can't shoot in camera. Like they were digitally created, digital battles, digital soldiers, vistas where something had to remove buildings and telephone poles and planes and things like that. So so probably Braveheart. I thought it was a movie that was about something.
Oh man, so good. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page in terms of favorites. So that
Okay, good. So you're not going to turn off the recording now, and we're done. That was really nice. That was an interview with Stephen Puri. Okay.
So the reason I kind of asked about that is because I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I love Shakespeare.
Yeah, we know.
If you were to pick a Shakespeare play to produce, do you have any thoughts on which play you would want to take on?
Okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind is I have seen some. By the way, to produce, you mean for film, right?
Yes.
Right, to film, right? Okay. So the first thing that comes to my mind is the comparison, because when you think about like some of the Kenneth Branagh stuff, you're like, do I have something new to say? Like there's some fantastic versions of some of these where you're like, am I just the guy making another one because now there's some young, let's put Chris Hemsworth in the Kenneth Branagh, you know what I mean? Like there's that, which is valid. God knows Hollywood remakes the same movies over and over. I'm not the one to stop that trend. Okay. So that said, that is the first thing that goes to my mind of like, why would you redo Henry V or some of those where you're just like, dude, that version works. Just watch it. However, I'll tell you, if I had boundless money and endless time, there are probably some monologues that I would just love to get different actors to say, just to hear what they do with it,
Have you seen the To Be or Not to Be?
Yeah, but even some of the weirder, or the more offbeat ones, like, good name in Man and Woman is the immediate jewel of their souls. When you think about different people, how they interpret these things, and you have the outliers in terms of how idiosyncratic they are. The Malkoviches, the Jeremy Irons, the Christopher Walker, those. And then you have the more, traditional sort of interpretations. That really is what comes to my mind is like a Merchant of Venice something, or, probably not one of the comedies. I'm not really a comedy guy. I'm not good at that stuff. Not funny. Funny looking, not funny though. So I would probably say like one of those where you could go and not Hamlet, but one where there are like some juicy little bits. You're like, I would love to hear that coming from Jeremy Irons.
Maybe
You
like
know?
a King Lear
Yeah.
thing or yeah. Although
Yeah.
Merchant of Venice, I'm always a fighter on the comedy of that one because it's one of those where you're like, is it a comedy? I don't know.
Yeah. Reinterpreting A Midsummer Night's
Depends on
Nightmare.
who you ask. So you had basically this amazing career in Hollywood.
Hmm?
Nobody would naysay that.
Hmm?
You left that career
True.
from Fox, and I got a chance to listen to your podcast on why I left.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Brian's podcast.
Yes,
Yeah, I really
and
enjoyed that.
so listening to that, it was very clear that there was a lot of conflict in Fox in terms of ideas, in terms of
Values.
quality versus quantity.
Yeah.
Like there were
Yeah. It was a big mismatch. And I had advisors who were on either side. When I got that offer, I was at DreamWorks. And I was an executive vice president for Alex Kurtzman and Rob Orsi at DreamWorks, right? Which was the era when we did like Transformers 1 and 2, Star Trek 11. Star Trek 11, which is in the more recent movies that I worked on, something I feel more proud of than a lot of the other stuff. And when Fox made me this sort of discreet offer, the most impelling part of it for me was the chairman of Fox Filmed Entertainment said, listen, you probably grew up watching Die Hard. Do you want to be the executive on the next Die Hard movie? Do you want to, I'll give you the Wolverine franchise, stuff like that, right? And man, it was hard to say no to. And my advisors were split. Some were like, oh man, this is an amazing opportunity. Come on, who gets to make a Die Hard movie? And some of the others were, in hindsight, correct and said, this is going to be awful because you don't know how different culturally Fox is from who you are. And man, that like highlight, double underline, dog ear that page. Yeah.
so. Was there conflict that led you to Fox, or was it just the opportunity that led you to Fox? And then
You know what the
conflict?
sad thing is? Die Hard 5 is the reason I left film, where I was just like, my career here is going to be making sequels and prequels and remakes that don't have any idea behind them other than people will go see them to hear Yippee-ki-yay or, see Hugh Jackman, who is a very nice guy, have his little claws out. Die Hard was also a big part of the reason why I went, where I was like, wow, that would be. I did grow up watching the Die Hard movies, to work on the next one, cool. And then, once I got there, I was like, this is a very different picture than DreamWorks. Like DreamWorks, I have great respect for Steven and Stacy. Like everyone tries to make a good movie. It's hard. Most movies are not good, right? But it's not that you set out to make garbage. And Steven and Stacy really set the bar high in terms of like, try and make this great. And it's a business, true, but we're trying to make something good. And I can't say the exact same thing is true at Fox. And I many times regretted that decision. But if I had not gone to Fox and had that experience where I was miserable, I wouldn't have left and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
So do you think that conflict is a necessary impetus to change?
Well, if you divide conflict in like external and internal, right? Fox for me was a lot of external conflict. Like my boss, the chairman of Fox Film and Entertainment, hated me and I hated him. There was like no mutual respect there. And that was external conflict. So that was a real great forcing function of like, hey man, your contract is so long, which is super weird because my contract, when it was coming up and I thought I was free to go, he renewed it. He picked up the option and kept me there just out of like spite, which was weird. I mean, let's temper this with, it was a very nice paycheck, but it's a year of your life. You give up. You're like, you don't want me here. I don't want to be here. Why are you doing this? Just so you don't go to the competition, right? So that was strange. So that is external conflict. And you're right. Yeah, it moved my life forward. That's when I was like, okay, I'm going to get back into tech. I know how to do that. I want to help people focus, block out stuff, do the great thing they're capable of, whether it is writing the next great American novel, whether it's writing a screenplay, whether it is, creating an app, designing a restaurant, whatever it is. Like, go do the thing before you die. It's too easy to die and not release your greatness, right? I wouldn't be doing that, I don't think, without that external friction, conflict with my boss. But by the same token, like the internal conflict of what am I doing? Like making movies that I wouldn't even go see. That's also a powerful motivator. And with I just had, I have a 7-month-old son. We're going to have a daughter fall of next year, 27. Super excited. And when they are old enough to understand, oh, daddy did work and at his work he did this, I'm really not going to talk to them about the movie stuff. I'm going to talk to them about Sukha. I'm going to talk about this is what I think I contributed to the world. Not, hey man, Die Hard 5 was set in Russia, but we shot it in Bratislava, doubled. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So you veered a lot. You veered, one might even say completely from what you started your career doing.
I just sort of came back. It's almost like the full circle back to 12 o'clock, which is when I went to USC, which does not have Shakespeare in the park, but it's still a good school. I nominally was in business and journalism, but SC has this is University of Southern California for those listening, not South Carolina. It has a fantastic cinema TV school, arguably the best in the world. I was not in that school. A lot of my friends there, my dorm were, so you had a lot of conversations about movies, going out Tuesday night to late movie and going to the diner and debating it, but it was not my major. I, however, was a Watson Scholar with IBM. I knew how to code. So I was in LA when film went digital, and there was a demand for people who could speak creative, which I could because most of my friends and I had creative conversations, but also could speak engineer, which I could because I was one, and I made money as a junior software engineer during college. So that's how I fell ass backward out of being a little code monkey into being a code monkey in film, going, this is cool, and using the digital stuff to do all these movies where you get to work. I mean, by the time I was 21, I was working with Cameron on True Lies. I was working with Fincher on Seven, like a bunch of these things. Like, I'm doing these in my early 20s. And what a great way to have the opportunity to sit. It's like you got a ringside or courtside seat, whatever, to watch Michael Jordan play. These guys are at the top of their game. Like Mel Gibson wins an Academy Award. Cameron's, doing amazing stuff. And you get to see how they play. Listen to how they think. Listen to them, be upset and describe how they wanted was different than what they got, and tomorrow better be different. Amazing lessons. And that then made me say, okay, I need to stop doing the digital part of someone else's movie. I want to try and get movies made. Like find writers, find cast, director, put things together, get them financed. And, that's why I ended up as studio executive. An evil suit. I know.
And you have since, like you said, created something that means a lot more to you than a lot of your Hollywood career. We mentioned the Sukha Company, and I read about it. It means kind of like the Good Place Company. Is it focused more on creating a healthy environment for companies and the people in those companies, or is it the individual themselves that you are?
It is the individual, and it is an idea born out of the fact that I procrastinate. Like, hello, my name is Stephen P. I'm a procrastinator, and I get distracted, right? Just like straight up, I'm standing in front of you all at a podium talking about how bad it is. And matter of fact, I'm about to launch a website for the company where the splash area is just me talking about things that I do when I procrastinate or I'm distracted. Be like, if any of this speaks to you, like, let me tell you some more, right? So it really is born of that, of saying, okay, I found some honesty with myself about if I'm going to do the things I want to do, I need to stop these behaviors. Simple stuff. Some of it, like tomorrow at 9 a.m., I need to go do this, work on this thing. But But at 9:15, I'd find myself scrolling through the news, or at 9:30, I'd be returning some emails, or maybe we're not top priority, but had to, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. Almost like the folding the laundry, doing the sock drawer kind of procrastination, right? I know. It's like, hallelujah, everyone raise your hand, right? And then, during the day, what I'd find is the thing that usually got me away from doing what I actually wanted to be doing was I'd encounter something that might be a little resistant, a little hard. Like maybe I'm coding something and the build keeps failing and I'm trying to figure out like why is it failing? Or I'm writing a blog post and I read the last 2 paragraphs. I'm like, actually, I need to rewrite this. It's so cliche what I'm saying, right? And in that moment, I will then be open to distraction. I should just pick up my phone real quick and just check and see if anyone WhatsApped me and reply to that, or I should check this YouTube video about this thing I'm doing. And then, at the end of the video, it always gives you like some really good suggestions like, Steven, here are things you love. Want to just it's only 5 minutes. And then it's another 7 minutes, that next one, And I was not executing the things I want to execute. And that became very important to me, saying, if I want to do something with my life, and yeah, you're right. I've done some stuff that from the outside seems like really fun and glamorous and all that. But the bottom line is, none of those things, like even Star Trek 11, which I like, or Braveheart, didn't change the world. Maybe they contributed positivity in a certain way or a good message. And when I was like, okay, so what have I learned? The thing that really jumped out at me is I had this experience with a flow state, but I was like, what the F just happened? Like, that was awesome. Didn't know the term flow state, didn't know it was a thing. Went to dinner, described it to a friend of mine who was like, dude, you've never done that before? Like, where you been? I was like, clearly under a rock or something. And why didn't someone tell me in college? And
so what is flow state?
Oh, flow state. Okay. So you're right. Let's set the table for 30 seconds. And anything smart that I say on this, let us attribute to the smart people who've done the research, because this is not original. I'm just here bringing information, okay? So I'm not the smart one, but I am the passionate, crazy one that's on your podcast. So there was a Hungarian-American psychologist, this dude, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who like 40 years ago now, he said, I have a thesis. There's something to this. When you talk to like high performers, like people that we know, like the Michael Jordans and the Picassos and the Einsteins, when they talk about the concentrated state where they do the thing that makes them famous, they describe that state in very similar ways, even though what they're doing is very different. He's like, there's something there. So he did the research and the interviews and all the stuff. And at the end of it, wrote a book, Flow. It's the seminal work on this. It is from whence we get the term flow state. And he said the greatest thing, in my opinion. He said, I chose this word flow, even though people that I interviewed had their own names for it. Michael Jordan talks about being in the zone, Picasso's thing about the muses speaking, and, Einstein is thought experiment. He's like, I chose flow because it was the most beautiful metaphor for what I found. We are all on the river paddling to move ourselves forward. But if you align your boat with the current, it carries you. You go further and faster. It magnifies your efforts. And that is what these high performers have figured out how to do. And it's a fascinating book. My experience with it that I alluded to a moment ago is I was flying from Austin, where I am now, to San Francisco. I was meeting the next day with my team, and I had an idea I wanted to mock up. And got on the flight. Alaska Airlines runs that nonstop route. And the pilot was like, hey, kids, sorry, Wi-Fi's out. See you in San Francisco. Enjoy your flight, So we took off. I started working. Like 15 minutes later, we start descending. And I'm like, something's wrong with the aircraft. We're landing at DFW to swap aircrafts. I look down. 2 hours and 40 minutes had gone by since I looked at the clock. What? We were in San Francisco. And I had mentally prepared myself. Maybe you've done this. I'd prepared myself for get in the Uber, grab a sandwich in the hotel lobby, go up to the room, work at the little desk until I have to pass out and try and finish the stuff. I was done. I liked my designs. I was ready for the meeting. I called a friend of mine from the Uber. I was like, I have a free night in SF. You want to have dinner? And at dinner, I was saying, you won't believe I was on this flight. And I was like, I was in the zone, dude. It was so cool. Da, da, da. And my friend was like, have you never had a flow state before? Do you not know about this? And he's an engineer. And he's like, yeah, this is like a thing. Like it's a brain state you can go into. You should read about it, dummy. And I did. And, Mihai says, like, here's the deal. You go into the state, and the people who practice flow states, it's true. You kind of lose sense of self. You're not self-conscious. You're in the work. You become one with the work, whether you're writing a screenplay, stage play, designing a concept, whatever it is. You have no sense of time. Like, you're not looking at the clock going, when's lunch? Distractions seem uninteresting. I really don't want to open TikTok right now because what I'm doing is so cool. Like, this blog post is going to be really cool. I can't wait to drop it, And he said, you have at the end a feeling of uplift, like a feeling of joy almost, as opposed to a feeling of depletion of like, I'm so tired. Instead, you're like, that was great, which was exactly how I felt getting in the Uber. I was like, I'm king of the world. I'm very good at my job. I've created good design. And I just wish someone had told me in college. So anyway, a long explanation, but that was fascinating to me. And that is what I do now is we made the Sukha, as you mentioned, it's a website, put together the ingredients that Mihai and smart people who have done research on this, the Newports and Kotlers and have written about to say, here are kind of the inputs to get you in a flow state and work faster, better, feel better at the end, have less burnout. And I make that available to people to go like, hey, dude, like, do your thing,
That's awesome because I feel like you're the the one person who's trying to help people get to the flow state while the rest of the world is trying to disrupt it and offer us distractions.
Dr. Shrew, by the way, does everyone know you have a doctorate? Dr. Shrew? Okay. So Dr. Shrew, you are speaking to my heart. Laura, wifey, and I, living in SF, LA, have a lot of friends who worked on Twitter before it was X, worked or still work at Instagram or Facebook, and have worked at TikTok. And, you hear their stories, and it is amazing the way if you are a best-in-class engineer, designer, behavioral psychologist, casino game designer, the biggest paycheck you can get right now is to work for one of those trillion-dollar companies whose business model is steal everyone's lives. Mark Zuckerberg buys another 450-foot yacht because you scroll and double tap and you don't actually do the thing of which you're capable. You are not going to write the next play. You are not going to, create the restaurant, make the app, design the campaign. You are going to scroll and double tap, and they will do everything they can to get one more second each day of your life. And that to me is criminal. The incentives there are so screwed up. If you believe, like I believe this, maybe not everyone does, but I believe that everyone has something great inside them. And the question of this lifetime is, are you going to get it out? It's not, do you have something? It is, are you going to go to your grave with it still inside you? And there's that quote, I can't remember whose quote it is, about, the graveyards are filled with riches. Like they're filled with people who didn't write the book, didn't create the thing, didn't go to work on their acting career, whatever, and if I can help the people who raise their hand and go, I'm not going to my grave with this inside me. And I want help because, man, TikTok, Insta, like they are like crack. They are so well designed. You open them up, it is never a minute. It is, where did the morning go? And they know that. And that is going to get most people. But the ones who are like, no, I'm going to do the thing, I'm here. Like Sukha's here. Get in a flow state.
So there are tools that will help you avoid the doom scroll,
Hell yeah, there are a ton of great apps out there. Like we make one, but let's be honest. If all you need is something to block out TikTok or something like that, there are some great apps that lock your phone. There are some apps that play beautiful music. There are some apps that, do tons of things. What I really looked at was, I read the books when I had this moment of like, whoa, and a friend of mine was like, dummy, like, why don't you know about this? I was like, I must learn about this. And I experimented with a ton of apps. None of them stuck with me, even though there was a lot of fun for the first couple of days with a number of them. Like the one with the tree grows, super cool, but it kind of worked on my phone, and I get distracted on my laptop more, where it's like YouTube and things and emails and blah, blah. And I was like, what would I like? And this is very personal. I mean, the whole website is very personal. Tony and I built this. So it was simple things like, Karen, if you and I were sitting next to each other in study hall in college, and I was working on some term paper that was important to me. Like this is part of my dissertation or something, right? And you saw me open my phone and get on TikTok. All I would need is you to say, hey, Steven, is that helping you, dude? I see you on your phone. And I'd be like, thank you so much. You're right. I wouldn't need you to like put a lock on my phone and put it in a box under a drawer with a dragon. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a child, but I understand these are addictive. And then I was like, all I really want is if I go to open YouTube or Reddit while I'm working, I just want a little voice, a little pop-up to go, hey, Steven, I see in Reddit. Is that helping you? And I'm like, no, it's actually not. I'll close it, right? So that's what we did. We made a little like AI assistant that just kind of like watches your phone, watch what you're doing. And when you're working, not when you're screwing around, but when you're actually like, okay, in the next 2 hours, I need to write this thing, whatever. It just does that little nudge. Hey, man, is that helping you? And you as an adult can say, screw it, I'm going to blow my morning and waste it. Or, yeah, thanks. You're right. I really don't need to be in Reddit right now. And then it plays, beautiful focus music. I have a lot of friends who are film composers, so we have a ton of, scientifically researched focus music. We can talk about that if you want. But yeah, that's kind of what we do.
So you talked about the creative, you're in the creative world, right? That's kind of where you dwell. As a writer, as people who, as somebody who has interviewed a lot of authors and
playwrights. Oh, yeah, you have.
I have. They're all delightful. But one thing we constantly talk about is the need for social media in the creative realms, whether you're an artist, whether you're an author. Mm-hmm. There's this I want to get published. Great. How many followers do you have?
Correct. Absolutely correct.
It is.
This is actually a really smart conversation to have. Go on.
So how do we negotiate that idea of having a platform, having those followers, that voice, but also not getting sucked into that world and losing our ability to keep creating, to create more?
Well, let me just say this. As much as I rail against social media, which I find is just a beautiful way for you to say to Mark Zuckerberg, I would like you to take my life, sell it to an advertiser, and keep the money, right? That's basically it, right? More dancing cat videos because I'm just going to be 80 years old on the sofa scrolling, talking about how I could have done the thing, right? It is true that in our world, we have to accept that, oh, yes, book publishers do go, well, if I pick up your manuscript, can you tweet out to 5 billion people that you wrote this thing as being published by, Random House or whatever, and they'll go buy it. That's a reality of it. So what I do believe is that if you recognize that is that, and it's not just you doing cat video scrolling, then you do time box that. You say, you know what? Every day I need to spend an hour managing my social media as if I am a publicist doing this as a job, not as a casual, let me just scroll and find things to double tap on. You know what I mean? And it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you got to time box it. You got to be when that, 60-minute little timer comes up, that you're like, okay, that was today's work.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because when we think about Shakespeare, 154 sonnets, 38 plays, at least, right? So productive. And then you have to wonder if he could still be that productive in today's world, where everything kind of feels like it's pulling at you to go do this, right? Mm-hmm. Watch this, or,
Yeah, discipline.
So how does your website also help with that aspect? Because I know you said it reminds you. Mm-hmm. Does it help give you tools to help with your own your productivity?
You know what? I'll tell you what it is when I found that flow states were an amazing solution to my problems with distraction, which we talked about, procrastination, I could just do a little laundry real quick. I was like, what are the inputs? And happily, really smart people have written about what are the things that get you into a flow state. So we basically designed it to say, when you identify a task, which you have to do, you have to come to Sukha to say, I'm going to write chapter 1 of my novel. I am going to outline the 3rd act of my screenplay. I am going to, whatever that thing may be, right? So when you have a task, because Sukha is useless if you're just meandering around the internet, go meander, right? You don't need to be in a flow state to surf the internet. But when you go, Every day, I'm going to dedicate 9 to 10 a.m. to moving my life forward. And that means to me, writing a chapter or outlining a thing or doing a character Bible or something, right? Okay. So what are those inputs? So let's go. Are you muted? So you said something. I saw lippin flapping.
I
That's
said
German, by the way.
interesting.
Okay. So let us say that Dr. Shrew says, I'm going to have a goal this quarter that I'm going to write a book, and it should be 22 chapters, blah, blah, blah. That means I should be generating a chapter every 3 days, which means I should outline, draft, revise, right? Okay. I am going to set aside from whatever. I'm going to get up at 7 a.m., and now my 7 to 8 a.m. is going to be this priceless writing hour of thought before the day becomes filled with grocery runs and calls and Zooms and stuff. Okay. What are the fundamentals of flow? What helps you get there? So we talked about what is a flow state. Flow state is where you feel you're one with the work. You sort of lose your self-consciousness. You're doing your best work faster than you thought possible. You lose track of time. Distractions are not that interesting. And at the end of it, you kind of go like, yay, go me, as opposed to like, I need a nap, right? So it's kind of magical. Now, things that help you get there. As Mihai wrote, he said, you need to believe what you're doing is meaningful. He's like, none of the people I spoke to got into a flow state doing stuff they thought was stupid. I actually want to win this basketball game. I want to create Guernica. I want to, figure out how gravity works. They believe what they think is meaningful. So for you, in this case, it would be, I really want to write this book. Like, I have a cool character arc in my mind. I need to work it out. It is work. Writing is rewriting. But let's get to it, right? Let's do this thing, right? Okay. So you have something meaningful to do. Music, as many people talk about, and there are fantastic music apps, Focus at Will, Endel, Brain FM, like lots of them, right? Studied a lot of them. Study the original research. For most people, the sweet spot is 60 to 90 beats per minute in non-vocal, long melodic stretches, certain key signatures more than others, like D minor, and some key signatures seem to work better. We all have the friend who's the outlier. Is like, I listen to 90s gangster rap. I'm in the zone. Like, that is, if you know yourself and it's like you listen to show tunes or classical music or jazz, whatever, God bless. But if you want to start and go like, for most people in research, it's this kind of like, you're not singing along with Blackpink or Britney or whatever your jam is, right? In sync in your case. I've seen your MySpace page, which was awesome, by the way. So music helps drop you in. It takes 15 to 23 minutes to drop in. Again, research. This is just science. Is it really a thing? When you drop in, is it just you're concentrated or is it really a brain state? Some people question that, right? Now, what's interesting is jazz musicians, when they get into improv, often report like being in flow, like this sort of trio becomes one. Like, I'm not really thinking about my instrument. It's just like we're all living this thing. Do you mind if we stick you guys in like an fMRI and measure like, does your brain activity change when you report, you sort of drop in? Like, you go from, I'm starting this thing with them to, we are all one unit doing this. Do you know the prefrontal cortex, like right behind your forehead, that has a lot of the sense of self? The activity drops off a cliff at the moment when they reported, I'm in it now, like I'm in the zone. I'm part of this creation process with these two other people, right? So super interesting. It's really a thing. And again, everything I say, don't believe me. Research it. Use the Google. Use your chat, Claude, Gemini, whatever you like, right? And learn about this. It's what we did. So you have that. Now, I'm going to keep going. I know this is a long speech, but it's an answer to your question. Good so far?
Good.
Are you snoring?
Following.
Are you snoring? Are you awake? Say something. Say something.
Wide awake. Let's go.
Good. Okay. So another part of this is, if you have a task, is that it is going to set you back if your task is really a goal. Like, if you make your task this morning, write my novel, it is not achievable today. It's not clear, right? It may be meaningful, but you need to carve out something that's like, today I'm going to outline chapter 1. With the full knowledge, I may revise it. By the time I've written chapter 10, I may go back. Chapter 1 really needs to include more of the archery thing to set that up, or more of the relationship with the brother, whatever, right? Okay.
I love that. So it's important to differentiate between the task and the goal.
And the goal, right? And time box it. Like in your case, for example, when you're like 7 to 8 a.m., I'm not going to let anyone set Zooms with me. I'm not going to, that is going to be sacred time.
Is it, so it's important to have the same time every day? Is that?
That's such a good question. Wow. Few people ask that. There is a concept of chronotype. And I'll tell you, when I first encountered this, I was a young punk coming up in film, and there was an established writer, Ron Bass. He had written Best Friend's Wedding, Rain Man, like a bunch of stuff, right? And he was somewhat infamous for not talking to his family in the morning. He would get up, not say hello to his wife, not like a who wants cornflakes, who needs to ride to school, go to his office and write from like 5 in the morning to like 9, 10 in the morning. And I thought this was extraordinary. This guy was so in tune with this because his self-awareness was, when I start talking to you, I can no longer hear my character's voices in my head. Now, this is the guy who writes character dialogue that gets really hard people to say yes, like Julia, Tom, Dustin, to say yes, right? So he's at the top of his game to get these people to go, yeah, I'm going to give my spring up to go play his character, right? So he was very aware of that. And that is chronotype, the concept that you are more adept at certain kinds of things, at certain times of day. Now, he knew in the afternoon he could do meetings with his agent, studio meetings, like collabs with writers. Like that was more interactive time.
It needs less brain power.
Right, exactly. But that thing that you said of, hey, does it have to be the same time? It doesn't. But if you become aware of your chronotype and you're like, oh man, like late at night is when I'm in the zone and I just, the muses speak, know that. Figure that out. Or if it's early in the morning. Like for me, my early mornings are gold. Like Laura knows, I block them on my calendar. No one can book them. I'm only doing this because, you know, you're obviously off in Europa and I'm in Austin, Texas. So this was an exception where I was like, absolutely, We'll do this. You should. I cried a little bit when I said it. So that said, yes, if you're writing, it may be that your writing time is golden at the same time every day. But no, it doesn't technically have to be the same time. It just needs to be time that you set aside where you're not also in email, also checking WhatsApp, also doing this. The kids are, you know, in your room, whatever, that sort of thing. Does it make sense?
Yep, it does.
Okay. So let's kind of pull some of these together. And I'm being reductive. There's more to it than this. But let's talk about, okay, so you have a task you want to do. It's a real task, like a achievable thing. It's not an overarching goal. It's meaningful. You have a time of day you're good at doing it. There's beautiful music you've chosen. Like I love listening to lo-fi or, you know, upbeat or down tempo or whatever. And I'll come back, I'll asterisk that and come back with a funny story on something I learned. And then you're like, I just want to have some help just with the distractions. The way Sukha's built is when you start in the morning, or whenever, there's just a big play button. You click the play button, your favorite music playlist starts playing, your assistant starts watching, saying, hey, you know what? You budgeted an hour to write chapter 1. I want to flag you. You're halfway through your time. Are you halfway through the outline? So you can sort of like, even if you're losing track of time, it kind of gives those little cues like, it helps you with breaks. Like we're a big fan of Pomodoros, where it's like, you know what? You do need to stand up every X number of minutes, stretch, have a glass of water. Like grinding out for 4 hours without moving, not healthy for your body, not healthy for your soul, not healthy for your mind. So your assistant will say like, hey, you know what? You set a break starting in 5 minutes. It's time to like start wrapping up what you're doing so you can take your break and then pick back up fresh. So that's a lot of it, is like that little voice that says, hey, I see you in Reddit. Is that helping you? You know, I saw you picked up your phone, Steven. Is that helping? And you're like, ooh, no, you know, that sort of thing.
So your website sounds like it helps us create structure.
Yeah.
In a
it's like having a best friend sit next to you and just like help you do the thing you're capable of. It's basically that.
I mean, because I've been in school basically for like 40 years between being in school and...
It's amazing considering you're 32, but go on, right?
So with that, you know, that's one of the things that I miss. You know, I left the university in December and the structure. Okay, here's what I have to get done. Here's my timeline. Let's go. It sounds like Sukha gives you some of that back. It gives you some semblance of structure without, you know,
it gives you those. It's imagine just being like in a warm cocoon where you can go in there and do your creative thing, and it keeps the cold world outside. The intrusions it keeps out, and it just keeps you on track. Hey, you know what? You budgeted 2 hours for this. You're halfway through your time. Or like, all right, how you doing? Or, hey, I see you right now in TikTok. Is that helping? You know, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like little things like that. And little words of encouragement. You can toggle that on or off. Some people really love that every, you know, half hour, it would be like, you're doing great. It's like, oh, thanks. I am doing great. You know. I personally like it. Not everyone turns it on. I can see that, a bunch of people turn it off. They're like, I don't need that. But I kind of like it.
Don't tell me I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, I mean, people are very, very specific about how they work. Oh, this was the asterisk I was talking about. So when I was creating this, I happened, because of, my film career, to know a lot of film composers that I could call up and be like, hey, man, here are kind of the guidelines. Could you create hundreds of hours of music that's like relatively simple? It's not like you need to write a Britney Spears pop tune every minute, right? Or every 3 minutes. But 60 to 90 beats per minute. Maybe it's these key signatures, kind of like, long looping melodies, things that lull you into flow state, right? So got almost 1,000 hours of original music. It's awesome. Buddy of mine calls me up, Julian. He works for LucasArts doing sound mixing for like Star Wars games. Hey man, just got back from Nepal. Cool, good for you. He's like, yeah, his kid graduated from high school. I guess did very well, got into a good college. He was very happy. Graduation gift. Where do you want to go? Son said Nepal. So they went to Nepal together. He said one day we're in Kathmandu and it poured rain so hard they couldn't go out. And he said it was this lush, delicious, warm rain. And he had some of his audio equipment with him. So he recorded like 2 hours of it. He's like, I got back. This is never going to fit in a Star Wars game that I'm doing. I've got this cool thing. I don't know what to do with it. And I remembered you doing that flow state app. Do you want this? And I was like, for free? Sure, yeah. I was like, so we named it Himalayan Dream Rain, and we just stuck it quietly as a playlist in between, Lo-Fi Days and Celestial Office and Sonic Caffeine, all these other playlists, or upbeat, down-tempo, lo-fi, whatever, right? We just dropped this in there, no announcement. It became the third most popular playlist in our platform. Wow. And I was like, we paid all this money and had friends create all this bespoke original music, and the Sound of Rain is the third most popular thing on our platform. Like, what up with that? So, I run the platform. I know people's email addresses. Reached out to some people I saw listening to it. I was like, can you just help me with this? And it was so interesting for me to learn. And this ties into that, like how people are very specific about what helps them. If you had reduced down every person I spoke to like one sentence, it was, rain is a trigger that brings me back to a time when I had to study. And it was like, oh, my grandmother raised me in Georgia, and at finals time, it would always be pouring rain. So I associate that with we're inside, it's pouring rain outside, I have to buckle down. My family owned a lake house in Michigan, and I would have to do it on spring break. And I was like, wow, so that is a really powerful association. Like, you hear the rain, your brain goes, I get it. We're not outside playing, softball, whatever. We got to do this thing. And it worked to this day. And that led me to go, well, thinking I'm smarter than I actually am, we should try other nature sounds. So we made these naturescapes of like, somebody recorded the surf in Cyprus. Someone recorded a stream in Japan, threw this up there, zero interest, like flatline. Like, it was just a waste of my time, right? I was like, okay, noted. So the rain was really the hit there. Got it. However, there is a blogger in the UK who's been a member for a while. And she reached out. She said, hey, Steve, I see you're experimenting with non-musical playlists. So I feel like the door's open to make a request. May I? I was like, absolutely. Like, the platform gets better because members are vocal, right? She's like, so everyone thinks I still write her blog is sort of a cool coffee shop vibe. I'm an artist sort of blog. She's like, people don't actually know I had a baby during the pandemic and I can't go to that coffee shop anymore. You can't walk in with a 1-year-old and, right. She's like, is there any chance you would throw up a playlist that's just sound of a coffee shop? Because I would love to have that ambiance as I write. Yeah, cool. That's a kind of cool idea. Thanks. Found a dude in Vienna, Austria, who had recorded his local coffee shop. He gave me a recording. We threw it up as Cafe Vienne. And all it is the sound of like, little espresso machines and, the plates clattering, stuff like that. Another big hit.
Wow.
I know. And it reminded me, this is back in my development days when I was at Sony and DreamWorks. I lived in West Hollywood. Right across Sunset from the Directors Guild, there's a Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf that's known as like a writer's clubhouse. Like, you walk in there and it's just everybody's on their little MacBooks, like writing the little thing. And, in the corner is like the old guy who's written like 3 studio movies this year and he's making $1 million a script. Doesn't really talk to anyone. But he still comes here because it's his habit from when he was, a young aspiring writer. And then, you're at the communal table and they're like two girls who just got off the bus from Iowa and they're like, writing their first TV spec. Everyone's at their own level, but they're all trying to do something, trying to create something cool and artistic. And it was fun being in that vibe. And I would go there to read scripts. I can't write to save my life. I can barely write an email, but I would go there because it would be fun to sit there in one of the chairs with my stack of scripts and just be around artists who are trying to create. And I get where she was going with that of like, can you give me that ambiance of being in the coffee shop? So again, as I've been creating this, I've been learning too, and it's really fun to feel I'm getting smarter.
Is there a community aspect to Sukha? Because that is, I read a post that you wrote that was kind of talking about the coffee shop atmosphere.
Yep.
And you said in it, I miss people. And I felt that so hard, especially being in Germany and, being so removed from my routine, from my people, that connection and even just like, hey, here are all my other colleagues. We're sitting down grading. We're all in this together. Like, here we go. Is that an aspect of your company?
Yes. And I didn't know that it would be. It's funny you ask that because when you're making a flow state app and you're trying to say, here's music and a little assistant and little timers to like get you into flow, I had this feeling of like, I know all of these people, these members, because they talk to me one-on-one in support and, and they're all really cool, doing like cool stuff because our community is largely writers, engineers, and designers who are all creating something, right? They sit there on a laptop, great, that's what we're made for. And none of them know each other. They have no sense, like they're all playing a single player game and they don't realize that I can see all of them playing this. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if they could see each other, right? So I did what I'd love to do. Dropped a couple of people notes saying, hey, can I bounce an idea off you? A couple members, right? There was one woman I spoke to who made up my mind with this one reply. When I said, would it be really cool if like there was a group chat and you could share what you're working on, people could talk about it, and you finish something, you could post your chapter, your book, or would that be the most distracting, awful thing ever, and I'm going to destroy Sukha? And she paused and she said to me, I'm going to paraphrase this as well as I can. She said to me, Stephen, I can go down to the Nike store and I can buy a pair of shoes. They will sell me a left shoe and right shoe. I put them on my feet, run. They work great. There's a reason why 100 million people belong to the Nike Run Club. Because you run further, you run faster. The days you suck and you don't want to get off the sofa and your friends come by, you go run with them and it feels great to be like, okay, you know what? The day your friend sucks and you go by and pick them up and encourage them to go do it, feels even better. She's like, you should do it. I will tell you my favorite thing in the morning now is before I even hit play to start my day in Sukha, I open up the group chat just to see what people are doing. Just to see what the chat is. And, we celebrate stuff like, oh, it's your 1,000th session. It pops up going, hey, it's Bill's 1,000th session. And people drop little emojis and stuff. Someone's like, oh, I finished my website. People are like, post a URL, dude. Let's check it out. Like, that feeling, which is as the site grows, which grows organically, I don't do any paid promotion, but as it grows and people are like, dude, you should try this out. It's really fun seeing like people start to know each other, even though I know they don't. It's a connection only through Sukha. We had a guy, I'll make this story short. Wow, this story short. The English good. Me speak the English good. Right. Okay. I know, and you're an English PhD. Damn it.
This is why we're not editing anything.
Right. Don't edit any. Leave that in there. So they're like, that guy you had on, what street did you find him on? He was just lonely. He was wandering around. No, I'll tell you the story because this says so much for me about like when my children are old enough to say, what did you do? I will tell them Sukha. There is a guy who once a day, you can post into the group chat what you finished, right? When you finish a task, he'll say, do you want to share this, right? Once a day you can do it. So you can't spam it 5-10 times a day. And he hit share and it posted in the group chat, Roy King finished his dissertation. And people in group chat were like, hey dude, that's kind of like a mic drop. Like finishes just like folded his laundry today. Congrats, And he's like, hey, yeah, he's an assistant vice principal at a high school in Missouri. And he said, I've been working nights and weekends on getting my PhD in engineering. I'm also a dad and a husband. And I find I have like an hour in the evening in that little window between when I can do some work and like the kids need me and the wife family needs me, and a little time on the weekends. And I use Sukha. So that hour is super like charged up with me, like moving my engineering studies forward. He said, I just turned in my dissertation, but don't get too excited because you know this. I still have to defend it. Like whatever, 2 weeks from Monday or something, I have to go defend this, right? So people are like, okay, cool. Yeah, good luck, Roy. That weekend before that Monday, people in group chat that I know do not know him, like someone in Japan, someone in South America, a woman in in Europe, post in the group chat, hey Roy, you got this. Good luck Monday. Like we're thinking about you. Like just like nice shit. I'm like, you don't even know him, but you're pulling together because you're all trying to do something with your lives, right? Monday, nothing from Roy. And finally, someone posted, hey, anyone talk to Roy King? How things go? It's okay. Nothing. Tuesday morning, Roy logged in and posted, you may now call me Dr. King. And people went apeshit.
But it's the best feeling, I have to say, when they come out and they go, Dr. Feiner, congratulations. And you're
right?
Like,
that is why I don't collect a paycheck for Sukha. Like Tony and I do this for free. That is why I do it. That feeling of like, fucking go, do that. Roy, you are not going to die with that thing inside you. Like most people, you raised your hand and said, no, I'm going to do it. And he did it. And that's cool.
That is very cool. So you mentioned you don't get paid. You don't take a paycheck from Sukha.
Yeah.
So how do you support yourself financially?
Happily, I've had a good career so far. So, things are okay.
It's just from everything else.
Things are, I've been very fortunate. Let's not get. My parents are both raised dirt poor, and I am happily in a place where I don't have to worry about like the mortgage payment or food or that sort of stuff. I'm not like wealthy like Elon Musk or something, but I'm in a place where I can do this, and it makes me super happy. And I just want to see it grow. I just want to see more people have Roy King moments where like, I did the thing. And I'm like, you go. Yeah, congrats.
So that's all. I mean, your whole story is very cool.
Thanks.
It's also kind of scary, right? Because
Not that scary.
Sorry.
It would be scary if I stood up and I'm like 3 feet tall. You're like, and he's a little person too. This is weird. I work in the carnival. He's a carny. God.
But just in terms of the fact that like it takes a lot. It takes a lot to walk away from an incredibly successful career. It takes a lot to walk away from a very big paycheck.
Dr. Shrew, I was working on Die Hard 5. It does not take a lot to walk away from a really bad movie that your name is going to be associated with. That was a good, like, you should not be in this business anymore. Like, you don't need to do Die Hard meets Alien versus Predator, which I'm sure was on Tom's slate.
But you walked away and you were like, I'm going back to what I started doing. I'm going back to engineering.
Where I had agency. Let me point this out. Is I went from something where my boss was like, just get Die Hard 5 made. God bless. It is a studio. It's called Show Business, not Show Art, right? And he was a very successful chairman.
Right.
He's making the right decision for himself, right? I went to something where I had a lot of agency to say, whether this works or not, I will be able to make the decision of what we're doing.
So
that's a big switch in my mind.
I agree. But what would you say to people who don't feel like they have that agency? They don't have, let me go back to my other really super secret.
Look at Roy King.
Skill.
Roy King's like, I'm still assistant vice principal at a high school. I have a job to make sure my kids and my wife eat or whatever, and like doing that. But he's like, I've set aside an hour during the week. I set aside time on the weekend, and I am building my future. And now he has his doctorate. He's moving forward with his life. I don't know. This is actually last spring. I don't know if he's even still a vice principal there or if he's moved on to be an engineer. But yeah, you don't have to quit your job to do, the paving of the road to the future.
Yeah. So how do you decide what is worth your attention?
At this point, unless something shifts, a lot of it's like what I think will help the world that my kids are going to inherit. Like I have a great contempt for Zuckerberg, Musk, the TikTok, like a lot of that where it's like, unfortunately, you go to San Francisco and there's so much money and so much intelligence being put behind like, how could we refine the like button so more people will click it? And they're stepping over like homeless people dying on the sidewalk. They're like that. Oh, that's not a problem I know how to solve. But I feel like if we rounded the pixels on the like button 2 pixels more, we could probably get more clicks. And you're like, that is the best and highest use of your brain for reals. I have contempt for that.
Yeah.
So if I'm here running a small site for the people who want to get into flow and write their book, write their code, create their app, design their thing, that's awesome. And if life changes and suddenly I'm like, oh shit, I lost all my money in the stock market, or I put it all in crypto. I have to, monetize. Yeah, I may have to, change things around. But right now, it's like, if you want to do something with your life, if you are ready, which most people are not, if you're ready, we're here. Tony and I built this for you to go, I'm going to go do the thing. I'm going to be Roy King.
Well, and we've talked about a lot of your successes, but some of the
I've
projects you take
failed so
on,
many times. Oh my
you
God,
are
it's
you're really
embarrassing.
forthcoming about it, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that failure? Like usually, let's say like rejection letters. That
Oh,
you
mainly wallow in self-pity. That's a big one for me.
Oh, good, it's not just me.
Yeah, no, it's not just you. No, let me, for those still listening, I'll be super blunt. When I left Fox, it was not traditional for a senior executive at a film studio to not just go to another film studio, but to leave the business and go into tech, right? Now everyone's left film. But at the time, it was like, what is Puri doing? And I knew everyone was watching me. And I went to create my first startup. I raised about 3.1 million for that, right? Including about 700,000 of my own money. And that got to about 60,000 monthly actives, not enough to raise a Series A. I had to close it. I felt a sense of shame and embarrassment. I hated going to the dry cleaners because I might bump into one of my film friends who's like, Puri, how's it going? And you're like, terrible. Actually, I want to kill myself. Like, my company's failing, Like, it was awful. That happened twice. I did 2 companies in a row, about 3 million each. Both of them didn't work before Sukha, which has thankfully taken off. And I'll tell you this, the best thing I did about those, because it's true, the learning lesson thing, like your parents tell you, did you learn from this mistake, right? So yeah, here's what I did. Both of those, when I hit the moment of like, okay, you know what? I should not raise more money because we've tried the things that I think will work and they don't work. So if I raise more money, it's just a waste, right?
Yeah.
I sat in this chair. I have this great kind of like zero gravity chair that kind of reclines with a little desk to swing out like one arm bandit thing. And I wrote out, I did not type on my phone or dictate in my laptop or something, but I actually old school took a pencil and a pad of paper. Like my hand had to write this out. It's like, what did I learn? And I wrote down while the wounds were fresh. Not a year later when you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Life moves on. Like, I know that was a tough breakup, but you'll fall in love again. Like, it was like in the moment where I was like, I want to jump out the window, but it's not high enough to kill me, only to injure me, right? I wrote that out. I have those 2 pieces of paper to this day, actually not 6 feet away from me. Every month or two, I go look at those and I'm like, am I making these mistakes again?
What is one mistake that you think?
Don't talk to the Shrew. That was like at the top of the paper. It was,
Oh,
and
yes.
I know. I need to read it
Damn
more
it.
frequently. Yeah, true.
But what's one
The irony, right? That you would
that
ask.
you learned from in terms of
Oh,
something went awry?
would you like to know something that's on those sheets?
Yeah.
Oh, don't get feedback from friends. Your
Ooh.
friends are always too kind. They'll read your script, they'll read your play, they'll look at your app, and you can get caught in a bubble chamber of like, oh no, Karen, it's really good. I love this. Blah, blah, blah. Your friends, your family are not the people to get feedback from. The best feedback is from people who hate you. Because if they go, Steven, I hate you, but damn, this thing is really good. Then you're like, okay, there's something there. Will you pay for it? Would you pay $1 for it? $1 a day? Like Sukha is like less than, it's like 70 cents a day or something, right? But that is the real signal. And then when people, when we have paying members that give me feedback, I'm like, that's for real. Because my friends are like, oh no, it's so great. And it's like, they just love you. They're not able to help you because they love you.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Have you
I
actually
learned that the painful way.
you?
Sorry?
Have you actually asked somebody who hates you for their feedback?
Yeah. Well, hate is maybe a strong word. People who have churned, people who have canceled their membership, I will reach out to them from my personal email address and be like, "Hey, Karen, I saw you canceled membership. If you would just spare a minute or two and tell me why, that would be gold for me. That would help Tony and me improve this." And people will tell you, they're like, "Oh yeah, well, I forget to open it in the morning," or "Oh, I found that you didn't have a playlist that was like 90s gangster rap or something," and you're like, "Okay, it's way better feedback than your friends who are like, 'Oh no, it's great. Your screenplay's great.'" No, it's not.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
So I have to ask this one question because
I know what you're going to ask. And yes, they're real. Everyone asks.
you know me too well.
Yeah, I get it.
You recently wrote, and it showed up on your Sukha webpage, about embracing boredom, frustration, anticipation.
Hmm?
And I really enjoyed the concept.
Thank you.
But I really hate being bored.
Why?
It makes me...
Why?
Because it makes me feel like I should be doing something, anything, filling the void.
Why? Why do you feel that way?
Because my brain just keeps running, and I think that's what you were kind of lending itself to, is that discomfort, is to kind of lean into the discomfort, lean into the hamster wheel running around in your head. But I don't know. You mentioned the idea of it. I'm trying to think about how I'm going to phrase this so that it makes sense. You said, I wrote it down. You said, let your reaction to boredom be joy. And I love this idea. But if your reaction is that you're bored, can you react to that boredom with joy? How do we do that? How do I, and you do yoga, which I also can't do because I get fidgety and can't function. Like, I want to go lift weights and I don't want to stay in one position. So,
you see, a great yoga instructor would say, and that is why you need yoga.
Probably. My Zen is lifting heavy things.
Which is great. Okay, so you found that for yourself. That is very true. So I think what you're getting at is you're saying, Stephen, Karen, have a hard time with boredom, and you wrote this thing about boredom, and I'm like, really, WTF? Don't tell me I'm not the right way. You are the right way.
What I'm saying is, how do I learn to do this? How does one...
How did you learn to walk?
I fell down a lot. I was not a graceful child.
We're done here.
So, it comes back to yoga. It comes back to meditation, right?
You have your answer. You can keep going at this because you want a different answer, but you have your answer.
Of course, is that what you're saying? Okay, I have to practice. Fine. Yeah. Fine, I'll embrace it.
Aren't you glad we can have these moments? I am.
I'll work on it. I'll report back and let you know how to.
Let me know. When I see that photo of you at a headstand, I'll be like, yes. Yes.
Headstands I like.
Yeah? Ooh.
Okay. Down. If I'm standing up, I'm more likely to fall down than if
How long can you headstand? Like indefinitely, or is it like I can do 30 seconds or something?
My longest handstand is 5 minutes.
Wow.
And then
I bow down to you. I am working on my handstand. I can do maybe 10, 15 seconds. And then I had this feeling of like, this is impossible. And my body then says, oh, you're right. It's impossible. I'm going to fall down. But my mind tells me to fall. It's weird.
Freestanding or like against a wall? Oh, freestanding. Definitely not 5 minutes.
Right. I mean, I will generally do it near a wall. So I don't, if I over rotate, I'm not going to fall on my back, but not touching the wall.
3 seconds is 30 seconds. Freestanding is 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
That's good. Yeah.
But I like being upside down. Upside down is weirdly a happy place for me.
See? Right. So we're going to make a new version of Sukha that's called Upside Down Sukha.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I've always loved the idea of yoga because I think health is very important and part of balancing everything out. And you just
When you
had
say health, you mean physical health, but there's mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. There's like, yeah. So yeah,
and that's
physical
why
health,
yoga
super
is
important.
kind of a triangle for those things, right? Like I
Mhm.
think yoga is one of those where it's not just physical. It's also really good.
Completely agreed.
Again, I just suck at it.
When you say words have power, the more you say that, the more that it's true.
I mean, I'm just trying to be honest.
I, just for the sake of conversation, I'm going to say, I don't know if that's honesty as much as it's uncomfortable, sort of like ways of dealing with discomfort, right? By saying, I suck at this, blah, blah, I can laugh at myself about it. As opposed to, if at some point you do find yoga, you may be like, wow, my fear of this was really rooted in this other thing. And I'll tell you this, I got into yoga, and I know we're done, like we're way over time, but I'm just gonna make a short story. My ex-girlfriend, before I met Laura, she was the director of marketing for this company, YogaWorks. So as good boyfriend, when she gave me a class card, she's like, you should try this yoga thing. I'm working here. Right? Gives me like a free class card for like 8 classes or something and a mat. I tried it, went down to Larchmont, wherever it was. And after the classes, I didn't wake up the next morning and be like, I can't wait to get back. But check, as good boyfriend, I did the thing. I was like, thanks, Allie. It's really cool. And to this day, she's one of my best friends and Laura's best friend, well, close friend. And about, I don't know, a year or 2 years later, I was in India with some family friends in this forest. There's the Royal Bengal Tiger Preserve in the center forest in Ranthambore, right? This national park. Stumbled upon a guy standing in a clearing alone in his little white dhoti. And I walked up to him. I was just like, hey, what are you doing? I was kind of curious. This guy's standing alone there. He's like, oh, I lead a yoga practice. And I thought this was kind of funny because he's standing alone in the middle of the forest. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah, for whom? He's like, anyone who comes by. Totally serious, like I was not laughing. And I was like, when? He's like, this afternoon. So if I come back here after lunch, you're going to be teaching yoga right here. And totally serious. He's like, yes. So I go to lunch with a bunch of my family and friends and stuff, a bunch of them are Indian. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a guy in the forest who's teaching yoga. He's good. We should all do this. And of course, they've done this. They're like, oh, that's adorable, Stephen. Like, you should go. We've done it. It's like people visit you in LA. They're like, we should go to Disneyland. You're like, I've been. You go. We'll have dinner afterwards, right? Not going to Disneyland with you one more time, right? I go back there, and he's standing there, 3 p.m, and there's a tall German guy with a beautiful DSLR camera on like the side of the clearing he's put down. And as I walk up, the guy says, let us begin. And he taught yoga there in the middle of the forest. And at the end of that, I wanted to call Allison and go, I wasn't ready when you gave me that gift, but I get it now. And I've had a daily yoga practice since. Yeah.
Well, speaking of free passes,
Yeah.
Sukha has one, right? Sukha has like a free trial where...
Oh, yeah. 3 days free. And by the way, if you're like a student or something, you're like, I can't afford 70 cents a day or whatever, just email me or DM me in the app and be like, hey, I'm a student at Oklahoma State or whatever, and I would love to use this. A lovely med student in Belgium emailed me yesterday. She got my email and was like, I really love this. My 3-day trial is up. I'm a poor med student. I use it every day now. And, gave her like a half off membership. And she's like, great. And hopefully she goes and gets her medical degree. You have to study a lot to do that. So yeah, it's not about the money. It's about go do something. And if I can help you, awesome.
Well, that's awesome. So to the Shrewniverse.
The Shrewiverse. Yeah.
Call to go do something. This is your call.
Damn straight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody will take advantage of this call and either, check out Sukha, or if you don't, if you feel like you're motivated and you can do it, then do it. But
do it on your own. Just
do something.
Don't keep scrolling and just buying Mark Zuckerberg another yacht.
Yes, please. He doesn't need any more.
Nope. Thank you for having me. And thanks to everyone who's still listening.
I had such a blast. Thank you so much. And we'll have to talk again because I still have more questions. I still have more things. So maybe
it would be a delight. Let me know.
Come back back on another day. But
Okay.
everybody, just remember, all the world's a stage, and you too can be a shrew.
We're all
Bye.
players.